Hi guys, this is just a little update on work diaries. I had a question from Lucas, and he's a tanker driver in Poland, wanting to know about how many hours we can work per day. So this is our book we have to fill out. We haven't got electronic, we're still on paper work records. This is a national driver work diary. A strange thing about this national driver work diary, it's not actually national because there's two states, or a state and a territory, which is Western Australia and Northern Territory, have different laws. So it's not really, although it says national, it's not really national. So as for driving hours, we have three different types. We have it's not just driving hours, work hours too, I guess. So everything to do with the truck, which means fueling, checking, washing, any maintenance you got to do on it, it's all classed as work time. Anything to do with the loading, unloading. So anything to do with the truck is work time. Now we have, we can do 12 hours, which is what I've got. We can do 14 hours. Or we can do also 16 hours in a 24-hour period. Now I use the 12 hours. What you got to do, if you got the 14 hours actually called basic fatigue management. Now you just do a course for that, and takes about 6 or 8 hours depending. Usually probably do it in about 4 hours. Now and then you get a certificate, and I'll just show you what the certificate looks like, because I've actually got one, and I'll find it in this little folder here. It's right down the back somewhere because I don't use it. There's other paperwork in here. It's related to other things. Now this was a certificate I got. Applied Fatigue Management Strategies. Now I got this when I worked for Linfox. I've done the course. Now I've had that basic fatigue management before. I had an old book that I had, which I done with another company, and they made that obsolete. I've still got that old book, which was this one. Transition Fatigue Management Scheme. This is an early one. I actually got this in 2007, but they made it obsolete, and then we had to go redo it again. Now this had your medical certificates and things like that in there as well. Now you don't have to get a I have to get a medic. If I use this, the basic fatigue, to do me 14 hours work time, I've got to do a medical every year because of my age. Now I think if you're under 50, you only have to do it every 3 years. So you go and do a course, you get that piece of paper, so you can go from 12 hours to 14 hours, which really doesn't make sense. So you do a little bit of a course, and you learn how to fill out your work diary for that, and they tell you about what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, things like that. And then you can all of a sudden you can work an extra 2 hours in a 24-hour period. So that makes you a better driver, I guess. I'm not sure. Now the 16 hours I'm not sure about. There's nothing actually in the book. You guess you got to look it up online. There's nothing actually tells you too much about it. But I have looked it up at one time, and it's just changing rest time. I don't think you can work as long within a 14 day. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you have to have a more rest between after a certain period of time. Now this book, the front of the book, tells you all about how to do it. I won't go too much detail with it. About your fatigue, how many hours you can work. The other ones, basic fatigue is your 14 hours, advanced fatigue is your 16 hours. But you can't use it. I got the certificate, but I can't use it because the company you work for has actually got to be accredited as well. So just because you've got it doesn't mean you can use it, which I think is wrong. I think if you've done the course, it should be on your license and not just part of the company as well. So it's pretty useless if the company's not accredited, which another thing doesn't make sense. Now this tells you all about it, how to fill out the book, where to how long you keep the book for. You got to keep this book for 28 days after you use it. Now you have to use these books anytime you're 100 kilometers from where your truck is based, and then you got to keep those records for 28 days. Now one of the things you got to do when you first get these books, the thing a lot of people forget about, and I've actually had the police just do a normal roadside check one time, and they first page they went to, I can find it, I think it's at the start of the book, was this page. Now this is where you keep your records and where your truck is based. Now this is not necessarily where your records are kept, may not necessarily where the truck is based. So you've got to put down too where you send the copies of your work diary, because company's got to keep one as well. But that could be, it could even be in a different state. It might not even be in the same state. So it's where your truck's based, where you send your records to, and that's the accreditation number that the company gives you, which you put in there after using your basic and advanced fatigue. And it explains all this here. I mean, this could all, every time something changes, where your truck might change or where you keep your records, you just got to write in as you do it. So I actually had the police pull me over. It's the first page they went to, because a lot of people don't fill it out, and I've forgotten as well to fill it out. And of course you got over 14 days and 7 days. There's all minimum work times and maximum work times and minimum rest times. And of course we have night rests as well, and long driving hours when you get to the basic fatigue, which is the 14 hours. So there's a lot involved, but you do get used to it over time. This is a basic, I'll find a blank page. This is the basically what you got to fill out. There's 3 copies of this. So you just put your name, the date, the day of the week, and the time zone, which is where you're normally based out of. So if you actually travel interstate and and the time changes, will you still stay on the same time as what your state is, where you've come from? So you don't change that. Put license number, registration number of the truck, odometer readings, and the place where you've done your change. And then you just draw lines, your work and your rest time. And you've got 2 up driving down here if you've got 2 drivers. And any number plate changes or license registration changes, you can put them in there. If you happen to change trucks in your shift, you can put all that down. Now you got to put down every time you have a rest or have a change from work to rest. You put that down, you mark it down, put down where it is. Now you don't necessarily have to, if you don't know the exact spot, as long as you got pretty close, like if you know the town you've just gone through and it's, you can usually put down example 20 kilometres south of Tamworth or something like that. As long as they have an idea of where you might be, it might be just a little dirt patch that you've found and you're having half an hour rest. Google Maps is good if you don't know where you are and you've got a signal and some data, I guess, on your phone. You can find out, usually a good way to find out exactly where you are. Ask other drivers maybe if you've got a CB on. So that's just a question that Lucas asked. I'm not sure his driving hours in Europe. You may be able to send us a message back about that. And but that's the basics. We are going electronic eventually. They are trialling it out. It's going to happen, so that might make things change a bit different. It's not going to really affect. I can do my job by still doing it, having electronic, but it's going to make it hard if you, especially in traffic. I want to know what's going to happen there if you have to stop, and or you get held up somewhere where they're going to give you a bit of leeway. So we'll find that out as it goes. Sorry about that. So that's just the basics. I won't bore you with detail. And if you have any other questions, I'll try and answer them. Now I'm just in Sydney at the moment. Gonna have a rest soon and pick up my trailers again tonight. This is just a cover. I've mentioned this before. This is about 7 or 8 years old, so this cover's been a leather cover. It's lasted pretty well. They made these work diaries bigger. They used to have a little small one about half this size when the steering wheels were bigger on the trucks. Now the steering wheels are smaller. They got a bigger book. Maybe that's so you can read it. People with bad eyesight when they get older, because probably a lot of older truck drivers still on the road. Not too many young people want to come into the business anymore. So maybe they catered for the older driver that can't see. Alright, we'll leave it there. Still got my old steering wheel, as you can see. They were going to, they told me they were going to replace it. It's still on angle as well. I'm parked at the moment, that's why it's that way, but it's still on an angle when it's actually straight, so one day they'll fix it. Just don't know.
I can answer the question.
Probably never happen. So I'll leave it there. And if anyone's got any other questions, I'll try and answer them.